So guys, I want to talk about AEW, and there was a bunch of talk about possibly Jeff Jarrett becoming the AEW champion, and there's a bunch of different things that they could do. Like, I think that the most obvious thing that I'm predicting is that they're going to have him come close, and then MJF is going to screw him over, and then you're going to see MJF versus Jeff Jarrett at either a Revolution show or the Grand Slam show. Or, you could do a WCW thing where I believe in the last year WCW, they had a bunch of different people go after the WCW championship. Just so they can kind of be like, okay, the show's ending. Let's just speed through a couple of people. But I don't think Jeff Jarrett should be the AEW champion for a bunch of reasons. My first argument is Dustin Rhodes. That I've said this many, many times, that Dustin Rhodes should be the ROH champion. And quite honestly, you could tell a great story of Chris Jericho being this entitled old man glory hog versus Dustin Rhodes, who owns a wrestling gym, and also he's helping, Sammy Guevara, he's helping the Von Erichs by holding titles with them. So if you want to kind of give it to like an old man who actually deserves it, an old man who could tell a good story, a stronger story would be Dustin Rhodes. Like, this is his first time being a champion. He gets for a couple of months. You give him a send-off with him versus Sammy at a pay-per-view. I think that's a better story. But with Jeff Jarrett, you really don't get any of that. I think that a lot of people will say that, yes, Jeff Jarrett, no matter what people will say about him, he's had a very significant involvement in professional wrestling. Yes, he dropped the Intercontinental title, thus making China the first notable woman in wrestling history to hold a men's championship. And he was also the person who started TNA wrestling. So, you wouldn't have AJ Styles, Abyss, Samoa Joe, Jay Lethal, and so many other wrestlers. Or even like wrestlers like Joe Hendry or the Hardy Boys. They needed TNA wrestling to help them out, really. So, I do think that the first argument is really that you can tell a better story with Dustin's being that old guard with the title. I think the second thing that I would say is that it feels very political. We kind of know the story of Jeff Jarrett, that Jeff Jarrett is one of those people that obviously gets very far in professional wrestling because he is a master of backstage politics. He's a master of, just like Chris Jericho, like making something about him, really. So I think to the audience, it's going to translate to that, really. Right now, they need to build new stars. And as I said, the new champions this year should be Kyle Fletcher and Powerhouse Hobbs. Those are the two new people that should be champions within this year because they put in a lot of really great work. And I've said this before, but you don't count Bobby Lashley, you don't count Ospreay, you don't count Adam Copeland, you don't count those people because they've been champions in other companies, really. But if you want to get like a new type of, been in AEW for a while, somebody who is rising in the ranks, really, you do Hobbs and Fletcher, and then a third person would be Darby Allin, really. So the attention really needs to be making Hobbs, Fletcher, and Darby Allin champions and putting them in spots like that, and you'll make a bunch of money, really, not just giving it to Jeff Jarrett. So it's definitely one of those things that I feel like it's a wasted opportunity. It's politics. They need to think about the next generation. And I think that my other thing is that how is it going to draw money? Like, I think there would be people that would want to see that. There's people who like Jeff Jarrett, but the problem is that, long term, could you imagine a pay-per-view? Moxley versus Jeff Jarrett, MJF versus Jeff Jarrett for the AEW championship, Adam Copeland versus Jeff Jarrett, Will Ospreay versus Jeff Jarrett, or anybody else, really. That does not sound like a pay-per-view or main event of a pay-per-view like Double or Nothing or Forbidden Door or Wrestle Dream or even All In. That does not sound like a main event pay-per-view. I think any type of Jeff Jarrett match that's more appropriate for a mid-card. Maybe if you do a retirement match, that's more appropriate for a television main event, really. But that's not really appropriate for any type of pay-per-view. So I just don't think that it's the right... I just don't think it's the right call for anybody. But I think the last argument I would say is, like, what has Jeff Jarrett done in AEW. You know, he's done nothing so far. You know, he's had good matches, but you know, he could, but he's not going after the trios title. He's not going after the tag team title. What has he done with Satnam Singh? You know, the 7-foot guy that looks like a big badass, and he's not done anything to help him out. You know, Jay Lethal versus Jeff Jarrett, and then Jeff Jarrett hitting him on the head, and he becomes either Black Machismo or, you know, Ric Flair. You know, that would kind of help, really. So, you know, really with Jeff Jarrett, he's not really elevated anybody. You know, it's just not a good idea in general, really. I just think that, you know, and again, you know, I think that the only benefit we're seeing is that this is just a big barrier to say we're not going to Adam Cole and MJF. Really. That's the only thing that we're getting out of this, that MJF is officially moved on from Adam Cole. That's the only thing. And he and Jeff Jarrett can have a hell of a great match. They can have hell of a great promos. They're good talkers. They do a lot of really great stuff. It will be good, entertaining television. But I really just think that, you know, you're not really going to get anything else out of this. You know, Jeff Jarrett is not the person to be the AEW champion. And I think that if he does that, it really is just going to look like, okay, he got it because of backstage politics, and they're pulling a TNA wrestling thing where he gets the top spot because he knows how to, you know, do backstage politics and all that stuff, really. So, you know, I just think that it's a really, really, really stupid idea.